Hey guys, reporting to you from Los Angeles, California to give you the latest update on the Danny Masterson trial. If you want to know what happened, take a look at my last video. Left a very secure paying job. Wasn't a bad gig. I was a print journalist and occasional video reporter. But my boss said I cannot cover Scientology because, hey, they got me fired. I don't blame them, but despite the financial risk, I feel like it is my mission to speak truth to power. And Scientology started it in terms of my employment. And guess what? I want to finish it, and I want to get some justice for these victims. So happy to be out here. I will be on with Aaron later today. And of course, he'll have a much more substantive, detailed, and well-informed take than I would ever have. But if you want a quick, nice 5-minute rundown, just the basics, I'm certainly your guy. So what was the topic at hand today? Obviously, Masterson has already been declared guilty. So what now? Well, there's quite a bit. What now? Impact statements. Impact statements will have massive consequence in terms of how many years Judge Olmedo will sentence the newly convicted criminal to. The argument about the impact statement is how many people can make those impact statements. Is it only Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 3, the two Jane Does of which Masterson was found guilty in terms of his involvement with them? Of course, there's a third Jane Doe where Masterson was not found guilty in terms of his involvement with her. So District Attorney Mueller makes an interesting argument. He makes a societal argument that this is good for society having more people testify. I'll quote him. We believe there's a societal interest to have voices of victims be heard. Statements not cross-examined or scrutinized by the defense, and unquote. Obviously, Masterson has a very aggressive defense team. And many victims might be reticent to come forward for fear that they'd be cross-examined and have their PTSD rebubble to the surface should they be on trial in a time of consequence. Afterwards, once the pressure is off, it might set a societal trend, a societal standard. And this heals victims and supports those out there, and it can assist some victims to come forward. So you think it's an interesting argument. It has nothing to do with the case, right? This is a societal argument, but look at the case of Plessy versus Ferguson. Look at Brown versus Board of Education. Look at Griswold versus Connecticut. Look at Loving versus Virginia. All four of these cases had ramifications far beyond just the letter of the law. They had societal implications. Plessy versus Ferguson confirmed slavery, strengthened the racism of the nation. Loving v. Virginia, in a racial marriage case, helped dismantle racism. So oftentimes court cases, usually Supreme Court cases and not this type of court case, but still, oftentimes court cases have the most consequential impact in society than many other instances might have. So it's a fair one, but unfortunately, Olmedo did not buy it. She said, I don't believe sentencing is appropriate for any sort of crime to comment on society's ills. Only victims have those rights to testify. I can't allow everybody to give an impact statement. But she did allow Jane Doe number 3 to give her impact statement, which of course she'll certainly factor in quite significantly when it comes to sentencing. Jane Doe 3 obviously is the third Jane Doe in which Masterson's involvement with he was declared not guilty. But she will still be able to testify. Here's the bad news, which is a win for the Masterson defense team. The bad news is nobody else, no other witnesses, nobody testifying in the first trial or even in the second could make an impact statement. Not only that, but if some new instance came up, because again, there might be somebody who didn't want to come out before because they'd be far too fearful of the repercussions and the aggression from the defense team, maybe now they'd finally feel comfortable to finally speak their truth. And it would factor in to Masterson's character. That's another fair argument. When you're sentencing somebody, you factor in their character. And there is evidence about character that these impact statements can't present. Fortunately, we'll lose that ability to get that evidence about his character. I know his character is not very good. You know that. But it's always helpful for a judge to hear that as much as possible. She will not be able to hear that. And she will not be able to hear other people strengthen the arguments of Jane Doe 1 2, and 3. But hey, at least 3 is there. In terms of what's next, there was an effort to table, which was successful, to table the conversation about dismissing Jane Doe 3 with prejudice. And that's what the defense want. With prejudice means that that case can never be retried ever. Without prejudice means that that case separately can still very well be tried. So that will happen on August 21st, of which, of course, I will show up to. So I have an extra trip in California on the books. It was an interesting case, or interesting day. It only lasted a half hour. Mueller was there. The assistant district attorney was there. Interestingly enough, nobody from Masterson's defense team was there. They quite literally phoned it in. Masterson was not there. His attorney Cohen was not there. And Holly was assisting Cohen in the defense team. She quite literally phoned it in. She called in. She was not present. She expressed some confusion. She said she didn't know the judge was making a decision, which is the reason she used to extend for the August 21st date for the prejudice motions. So she acted quite surprised, even though she was told about this. I mean, even I was told about this. That's why I'm here. So I thought that was a very interesting argument. But that will be the next thing on the agenda. And let's all watch how Masterson's defense team behaves. Because right now, they're not having Masterson cooperate really in any single way, shape, or form with the court. Meaning, after a conviction, you'll speak with therapists, you'll get tested, you'll get evaluated. He's not doing any of that. With those conversations with therapists, you would think you could express remorse, you could express guilt, all of which will be helpful when you want to get on probation later on. Of course, Masterson's defense team feels that they could appeal this. So maybe that's the reason that they're not cooperating. Here's another reason. Who's really paying for Masterson's defense team? Could be Masterson himself, but you know he has a ton of dirt on Scientology. And you'd think he'd want to sing like a canary and get Scientology in trouble if it meant a far earlier probation than expected. But the defense team does not seem to want any more information about Scientology to come out. And of course, there'll probably be a lot more negative information about them. So I just say watch their behavior and watch what they're doing. They also keep wanting to extend things. Originally, the sentencing date was supposed to be today, where we'd find out the official sentence of Masterson. Got extended to the 7th of September. And the process has also been extended. So you would think they'd want a much shorter situation, but part of me thinks they're leaving Masterson to kind of hang out and dry. So pay attention to kind of what they're doing and what their behaviors are. But yeah, I would say to give a basic rundown. Jump ball, split ball. Good news about Jane Doe 3, that's going to be huge. Bad news that nobody else could speak their truth. But such is the court, and Judge Olmedo cited other legal precedents and made her case quite cogently, as well as did District Attorney Mueller. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you guys again for following me. And again, if you want to support the GoFundMe, it would be my privilege. But regardless, even if you're watching, gotten all these amazing comments, all these people welcoming back. I feel like I'm reconnecting with old friends and that we haven't skipped a beat, just jumping back into things. So really do appreciate your support. It means the world. And I'll see you with Aaron on the live stream. Take care.